are, and right now we are live communicating with each other. And for us, is a great opportunity. I think we would not have done it for even 10 years ago, and which is not far. So about me, very briefly, my name is Dr. Mudassir Ahmed. I was born originally in Pakistan. I did my engineering back there, and then after my engineering, I went to Sweden to do my master's in supply chain and quality management and production management. And after that, I had a scholarship to go to UK to do a full-time PhD in Lancaster University Management School. So while I was there was a time lag between my PhD started and I was there in May 2005. Then I got a job in a company called Eaton. It's a part-time gig. They want some help in outsourcing. So, and then I think they like what I do, and they offered me a full-time job. And I said to them, I want to do full-time research, and they said, we'll fund your PhD. So I was on one of those fortunate people that my engineering was, I had a full-time scholarship, so as my master's and my PhD was paid by somebody else as well. So finished in 2005. I worked in a company called Eaton for 12 years. A very good company to work for. I learned a lot. I was in a leadership program. Another thing I know about supply chain, I think they have a huge contribution in especially teaching in terms of leadership and management structures and management knowledge. And they make me travel around the world. So I've been to 38 countries, and thanks to my job, and that's one of the reason I like supply chain. So since 2005, I started blogging. My intention was actually was to share knowledge, and the way I see knowledge, there's a hadith of Prophet Muhammad that then if you, I think somebody asked that what are the three things you will leave which will give you a good deed after you die, and I think he said three things. One of them was your kids who can pray for you, a tree who can give fruit, and the third was if you leave a knowledge which people can use. So there's two reasons I share knowledge. The first reason is that if once I die, people can benefit, and the second reason I do is sharing knowledge for me is a form of learning. So as Tanzil said, I've written more than 150 blogs. I'm almost writing the book right now on inventory management. I'm 80% done on that topic. Hopefully, we'll be sharing on my blog SCM Dojo. I'll come back to that SCM Dojo, and I'm also basically about to launch a course on SNOP online. So that's the reason I do share knowledge. I see as a blessing as a process of sharing knowledge and learning. So not necessarily I know everything. I learn something and I share. So I encourage everybody to do the same. So learn and share. So I started a blog with that intention. I have no motivation to basically, I don't know how it goes. My topic was in supply chain, very technical. Basically, I start sharing my research on supply development. People liked it. So when I share knowledge, I have two intentions. First, give them a theoretical knowledge. That's important, but also give them a practical advice to people who can work in supply chain, procurement, or logistics, can use those tools and tips, and they can improve the job what they're doing right now. So that's the main theme. Hence the vision of SCM Dojo, which is supply chain and knowledge for everyone. So that's the vision of supply chain knowledge and solutions for everyone. So in 2018 July, uh, I moved to Dubai in 2018 January. In July, I rebranded to SCM Dojo because Mudassirism was my name, and a lot of other people wants to contribute. So I thought we're gonna change to SCM Dojo. Dojo is a Japanese word which means a place to learn and meditate. So hence the word SCM Dojo. Again, right now is developing. A lot of exciting things are coming in SCM Dojo. If you go to SCM Dojo /guides, there is about 12 practical guides available on inventory management, Lean Six Sigma, Kaizen, also on cycle counting, demand forecasting is all there. But what I'm really particularly proud of, I have a theory, I call it uh, even though I've done all my education through the pull system, right? But I'm a very much believer of, I think this model is obsolete, that you go to a class and they teach you something, you remember 25% of it, and you actually use 5% of that knowledge. And I think that model is obsolete. Right now with Google, I think we need a pull learning model. So what I mean by pull learning model is this: that you go, you identify the gaps in your knowledge, and then Google it, visit website, you know, ask coach, mentors, whatever, and close those knowledge gaps. So if you go to SM Dojo, there's tools available called materials management competency, warehouse audit. Uh, there will be one more coming on inventory management. So you do the self-assessment. There's one on SNOP. Do that, and they are free as well. They're free versions as well. You fill it online. It will give you the knowledge gap. So it will say, for example, you are not very good in supply planning. So and then at the end we will come to SM Dojo or any other content and close that gap, right? So that's what we're trying to do, is to introduce the pool learning model. I have few more contributors as well. They're subject matter expert. I'll be joining me, and I'm very excited to launch more courses for people and more guides. It's, again, just the aim is to help the supply chain folks and community to do better. So that's a very long and short introduction with some vision what I'm trying to do.
That's really amazing. And we really learned a lot of things from you through this discussion, a small span of discussion. You will describe yourself in such a manner that people, those who are looking for the solutions, they will be looking at your website definitely. In your website, I found a very interesting sentence that is like, I'm a one-man company of my organization. So please do expect that I am late. If I feel like to communicate, then I'll get back to you. So this was the gist of the discussion in that sentence. So how you manage this time, because it's a big task you're managing. So how it's going to happen with you?
I, I I learned with this. We are all not all fortunate, right? You're not all fortunate to born in a family that you got money is not a problem, because we have to earn, right? This kind of thing doesn't earn money, and just let's start with that, right? So let me start with this. Somebody said, why you want to do a PhD? So, and this, a lot of people come and ask me, I want to do a PhD, and can you guide me a topic? I said, I'm not going to guide you a topic. That's actually a stupid question to ask, right? What you need to know is what topic you really like, right? Because once you're doing research on, is anything between 4 to 7 years PhD, you have to stick with this topic, and it's a very small topic you're researching on, right? You basically need to read everything about that topic, and then identify a problem, and then create basically a knowledge to get your PhD. Because PhD, you only have two conditions. The first is you have to contribute to body of knowledge, and the second is it has to be useful. You don't want to invent something which people don't use. I'll come to answer your question. So the whole point of that is you need to like what you're doing. So I like supply chain, right? So there's three, and for example, I like cricket as well. So I spend a lot of time in learning about cricket, following cricket, and I really love supply chain. And my job is supply chain, fortunately, as well. So my work is in Bridgestone or any companies I work for. It's basically it's pay my bills, pay my bills for my family. It's gives me a good lifestyle. It takes a lot of time out of a 60 hours a week job, which I do, which is fine. But any time which I left outside my family and my kids, I give it to SM Dojo, and it's only can come with passion, right? You have to do it with a lot of passion. As I said below, do what you love, and if you don't love, you cannot do that. For example, I cannot become a singer, or I cannot become a football player. I just don't have a passion for it. I'm not good at it as well. So the things I'm good at it, and the things I have a passion for it, I find time. I don't watch television. I sleep only 5.5 6 hours. I don't go out much. I have very few friends in that manner. So whatever time, as I said, time is a very limited commodity, and I think I manage it better. The way I manage it better is by planning my time. So, for example, as I said, I've got 4 calls today. One of them is your call, and in between, I've planned things up with my family if I have to. So it's all about planning your time, because time is the only limited commodity in your life which you're never gonna get it back. So use it wisely.
So that's the beauty, that yes, unless you have the passion, because when I was talking with you that day, that night, actually that time, that was like 3 a.m. at night for me. So that time we have a very very straightforward communication, and that really gave me the strength that yes, something that we have to push ourselves beyond the situations. And that you're just now, the statement you have made, that made me clear that how much thing, if you are dealing with, and unless you have a big passionate on that one, then it was not that easy for to arrange all those things altogether. So now we are in such a situation. We all are into the pandemic situation, and the entire supply chain is suffering largely into this situation. And as a supply chain professional, we all know the sourcing is a big factor, and demand planning and the forecasting issues is the heart of our operational management and other things. So how we can be having this understanding how to deal with this pandemic right now as a supply chain professional, do you think?
It's a very good question, and it is a question which we have in almost everyone's mind, right? So to answer your question, let's understand the a bit theory of forecasting, right? So forecasting by using any method is effectively done based on past history, right? If you use any statistical method for demand forecasting, which could be every moving average, exponential smoothing, whatever method you use, is essentially use the history. So forecast is nothing uh, but the reflection of the future, right? So forecast is nothing but the reflection of history, right? So that's the basic part. So regardless of the method, forecast is nothing but the reflection of the history. But there is no actually better method of forecasting as well. I was in. I think we got all the gents on the call. If there is any ladies, I apologize what I'm about to say. But I one of my professors in Sweden, and somebody said, "What is the definition? What is the best method of forecasting?" And then he said, "Forecasting is like making love, right? Everybody does it, but nobody knows what's the best technique." Right, and he was absolutely right that forecasting everybody does it, but nobody knows what's the best technique. So he was, and that hit me when he said that. So I'm not going to say use this method, use that method, because essentially is none of them is right, but you have to use some method. So let's see what's happening. So the point of the reason I mentioned the definition is the event which just happens right now. COVID-19 happens every 100 years, right? So it is beyond the life of most of the people I know and and around you. There's not many people who were born in Spanish flu in 1916, 1906. There's not many people after that. So there is not enough historical data to actually available to use forecasting. The only historical data available from the Spanish flu or the one before 200 years ago is that these pandemic actually doesn't comes in a wave and last. They actually come over the 2 years, and they come in different waves. So there's a theory available that in in for example in the end of this year or March April next year, there will be one more wave of COVID-19 coming in. So unless we find a medicine for it, it's going to be, unfortunately, this crappy situation of lockdown, stay at home, social distancing, and government will be apprehended, business will be all damaged, people will be working home. So it's going to be this unfortunate situation. God forbid that doesn't happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. The point I'm making is based on the last Spanish flu, that is what the researchers are saying that could happen. Hopefully find a medicine before, and then life will be normal. So that is the situation right now. So how we find a solution is that I was reading one book very recently of where it's called Art of Execution, and Warren Buffett said one thing about forecasting, and he said the rich Warren Buffett, and he said chat box animation. Okay, what he mentioned is forecasting is not about the data, it's or the forecast. No, yeah, forecast doesn't tell much about the data. It tells much about the forecaster or the thought process, and that's correct. So right now, what's happening? Let me give you example in my current company. There are some sales folks who are very very let's call it optimistic. They still say, yeah, from August life will be better and everything will be good and business will be normal, because there's this optimistic sort of people, but they have no evidence to prove that. And there are some sales folks which sitting in Iraq, Lebanon, and few other countries. They're saying I have not sold a single tire or whatever product for last 2 years. I might not sold in few years. So is the approach, right? But the reality is, this is where the management judgment comes in. The mostly the answer is in between. So from the very optimistic view to a very pessimistic view, you have to make a call, right? That what is my best position to get it wrong. So what I would suggest is this. This is where something like SNOP comes into play very well, and this is what I'm trying to teach people in my course, which I'm about to launch. So if you want to get access to the course, so go to SMDo, just subscribe to my newsletter, and you will get the email hopefully next week, about the course. What I'm trying to tell people is that make sure the communication channels are open, right? So you're talking everybody in the stakeholders, talking to your sales guys, talk to your customers, understand. And your customer could be a retail customer, dealers, distributors, B2B customers, OEMs, whatever, right? So you need to understand what's happening. But unfortunately, certain markets has hit more than others. For example, the automobile market has hit more than others. Travel market has hit more. Leisure and holidays market hit more than others, right? But there are also certain markets which have seen, because when these things are down, there's always an opportunity. So any business who work in sanitizers or glove business or medical equipment, right? They got so much sales, you got no idea. They don't even know how to fulfill the capacity. So not everything is doom and gloom. So I'm not sure there's 35 people right now, mashallah. But the thing is, I don't know which business you're working. So some businesses might be facing the downwards in the demand, but some business might be facing the upward. So the point is, you need to make sure that you go in and understand what's happening with the customer, and then apply some factors. So the general factors is, you should know this by now because it's been 2 months, that what is the impact of your total demand. So in certain markets is less than 20% down, certain markets 30% down, 30. So you apply that factor and you come up with the most realistic number. So that's a demand side. But I think the bigger problem is not on demand. Okay, understanding demand is one of the problem, but the bigger problem is on the supply side. So how you manage your capacities, because if you work in a business which is heavily capital intensive, you got a lot of machines and a lot of people, what to do? Because if you don't have enough demand, then you can shut down your business or certain production lines or work less hours. How are you going to manage people? How are you going to manage capacity? So right now, in terms of the sales and operation planning and the elements of SNOP cannot be more important. So understand your demand, apply some factors, talk to your customer, work with your suppliers, understand the situation with them, where they are, talk to your manufacturing guys, and see, understand how far they are in terms of managing strategy and what challenges they are facing. So the communication is the key. That's right now, that's the top tip I'm getting. So communicate very well, and then present scenario. So the best idea right now is to present scenario, optimistic scenario, the best, let's call it best case realistic scenario, and a very pessimistic scenario. But each scenario will actually give you a different mindset to cope on, right? So that is what I would say for this question.
Yes, that's really true. That we have to open our mind and the channels to be communicated in a better way. So in that case, nowadays we all know this. If you consider the entire world is actually considering a single source right now. So we all know this source. So how to cope with this challenge right now? Because we didn't know, that was an unexpected thing, and rightly you nailed that. In last 100 years, it has come back again. So we don't know, the historical data is not that structured way so that we can forecast accordingly. And by this time, already the world has been shifted to a monopolistic source already. So how we are going to deal with this situation, because that source is highly affected, and people are those who are dependent on it, they are having the crisis of their channel issues. So
I
although they
mean,
are open in mind, but they are not able to.
singles. So you mean China?
Yep, true.
Okay. And I agree and disagree at the same time. Let me tell you why. They are not really affected if you think about it. China, in terms of, they're open for business right now if there's any business available. The people are traveling as well in China, within China. So the European world is more affected than US, of course. Um the point is this. So the China had the globalization will be affected, that is for sure. So there's a huge effect on globalization, and China is a big responsible party of that. They have certainly impacted the supply chain disruption, and they're responsible for it. So there's two thought process in that. The first thought process is obviously to say, uh, let's go for localization, let's find local sources, right? But it's not that easy, because to even develop a local source for any supplier, it takes 2 to 3 months, depends on what industry you're in, and finding the raw materials, right? And most of the, let's call it, electronics industry, polychem industry, they are heavily dependent on the raw materials, out of China. So as long as you can find the raw materials, yeah, localization is a way to go, definitely, as long as you can do in a cost effective manner, right? uh, right now, I don't think supply is an issue, right? If there are people who wants to supply, I mean, China is open for business. There's still a product, containers going into China and containers going out of China. Nobody's stopping that, right? The issue is the demand has gone down. But there's one more factor which is happening in parallel to the whole COVID situation, which has affected more, in my view, and people are not talking about it, is the what happening with the petroleum industry, the war between Saudi Arabia and Russia right now. So the petrol is very cheap, so the whole automotive industry has been affected. Anything related to the petroleum industry and automotive industry has been seriously affected. So I still think the globalization would be impacted, but there will be some more localization opportunity. But I think China is still going to be a big player.
True. So in that case, we are thinking of the localization, and which is even a dream for all of us. We already understand this one because to recover this situation is not a matter of night. So I believe in that case we have to be very much materialistic, and at the same time we have to forecast our demands and other plannings for the next couple of years, because this whatever we say, we already have that understanding that it will take time to recover. The healing is the time than the issue. So how we should, what could be the parameters, what are the factors that we should be considering while having our demand planning in the coming days? What do you think like that?
Okay, so let's discuss the parameters. Uh, Actually, I could show you one slide if you just give me a minute.
Okay,
We can
let me
we
let
can
me
share.
let me give you the access. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Here we go. Yeah. Now we can do
one
that.
1 second.
Sure.
Just give me a minute. Should come. No, this one too. Okay, so let's share screen. Okay, so this is I think the slide deck of my course. I'm trying to talk about this, about what is the 5 step of SNOP and things like that. So that's fine. But let's come to the question you asked for. You should, Tanzil, you see my screen, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Completely. It's quite
Okay,
visible.
so when you're talking about the demand planning, right, you try to focus on, where is my annotation gone? Annotation. So let's take the annotation. Let's take that part. So I talked about already the statistical forecast, right? This part, okay? To look into the history, but right now we don't have a history which tells us what's going to happen, right?
True.
Then I talked about the sales input. So whatever your sales guys are, you talk to them, customer plans, territory plans, what are the key assumptions, what they want to do, right? So each customer, as I said, depending on the market, what they will tell you. So if in the automotive industry, they will tell you they are actually screwed, right? And then you just reduce by 50%. or if you are in, for example, in medical supplies, in some sort of textile business, food business, then they will say, yeah, I think it's growing. I think the business strategy right now and the business plan won't be as much I think will be affected. I think, or applicable. They won't be, because the strategy does not incorporate what's going to happen in terms of, uh, for example, what happened in terms of your business plans. However, the product input or the brand input is important. So, for example, if you plan to launch any new products, or you want to change any prices, right, it could impact your what's going to happen with your demand plan. I think the most important is this part, customer input. What's happening? What are the key assumptions with the customer, right? And try to get as close as possible. And I know we all rely on the salespeople, but I wouldn't really recommend just to rely on salespeople. Actually, I'm right now myself picking up the phone and talking to a customer, right? And asking them to give me what's happening with their business, and they're telling me few more information. So we do that. So from my perspective, sales input, statistical forecast, which sets you the baseline, and the customer input is one of the two one of the few very important factors to tell you what's happening. But I also say in this one, marketing input, keep an eye on these two things: economic indicators and also competitive advantages. So what I mean by economic indicators, is like, for example, UK is more affected than others. On the other hand, Egypt has not been affected, for example, right? For example, Morocco has not been as much affected. What I'm hearing is, India may be as not as affected as one of the European countries. So what is the economic indicators available in terms of the data which is available in the market, and what happened with the competition? Because some your competition may be not as profitable or not as stable business as you are working, and maybe they go bankrupt, maybe they are not supplying on time, maybe they have supply issue. So this will actually give you opportunity to gain and maybe gain some market share, because in these pandemics and and the issues, pandemics and the situations like that, there's always an opportunity, and this is what we are looking right now, that where maybe there's issues with our competition, we go and grab that market and actually maybe grow our business. So that is the suggestion I would give, Tanzil.
Well, that's true. And you just rightly nailed regarding this thing. Yes, unless we get the feedback from our customers, unless we hear with the customers. Yeah, that's true. Even as a consultant in my area, I'm also doing the same thing like you. And that is, we are also communicating with our clients that how things are going on. We are not able to sell our product right now. We are just taking care of the clients right now. That yes, unless this is the time for the relationship making, and business will be coming if we are live in the next year. So that is not my quote, that is the quote from Jack Ma. So
Yeah.
so and even if we see that recently I found the day before yesterday, Thai airlines has officially announced that they're going to be bankrupted. They declared themselves. So this is like there are so many giants that will be abolished within the couple of next months, maybe, if that is the situation is going on like this way. And at the same time, you're absolutely right that there is another gap is creating, and these gaps will be taken care by the optimists in the market. So what do you think of these optimist people? Are they need that kind of like huge experiences in their bag to start with, to utilize this gap, or the mediocre people? Because uh, in my last session was Mr. Israr Raja, so from supply chain management group, and before that one there was a very renowned HR professional, that is Mr. Musharraf Hussain. So he was telling that the mid-level people will be mostly affected due to this pandemic. At the same time, these people could be the next entrepreneurs. So how you relate with this one? Because as an expert of, although it's not related to supply chain management, but it's under value chain. So we
No,
should
no, it's
also.
just a good question, a very good point, and I think that I actually don't agree with that statement. I think in terms of value chain and the players, I think you mean by professionals affected in terms of supply chain from the junior level to mid level to senior level. And I think there's a realization that there's a lot of senior VP, whatever positions we have in the business, it may be not required, and I think they are equally vulnerable. And the people who get shit done, pardon my English, is actually mid-level people, mid-level managers. So you can't really take them out because they are, in my opinion, are the engine of the business, right? Your supply chain managers, your purchasing manager, logistics manager, warehouse team leaders, they are the one who get things done and get things moving. So I think they have nothing to worry about. The people who are most vulnerable is sitting on a high level and basically working on strategies, allegedly working on some whatever long term stuff, which is required. I'm not saying it's not required, but right now, your all your strategies and long term business planning actually gone out of the window because you're not going to know what's going to how this whole pandemic will turn out. So right now, you need people who are actually agile, who are actually uh, are quick learners, who can grab the opportunity. They are good in networking. They are good in communication. They are also good in terms of learning. So if you, one thing you also need to know, the people who are, can learn things fast because not everybody is a fast learner. So those are the people who actually will survive and will come out better. But as the on the other hand, I agree with this part of the next bunch of entrepreneurs. But who are they? I don't know. But I was reading somewhere that most of the big companies like Uber or Snapchat and all those, they come after the 2008 recession, and this is what is exactly going to happen. So, and actually, two things going to happen right now, and this is what I'm right now thinking, and very strongly thinking, and want to work on this theory. And let me tell you what I mean. What I mean by that. Um, so they in supply chain there is two kind of jobs, right? There is a jobs which is you need to be on the plant or your site, and you are in the, so for example, if I'm the operator on the assembly line, I need to be there. If I'm in the logistics warehouse and I'm picking and packing, I need to be in the warehouse, right? Unless you have automated machine. If I'm a logistics team leader, yes, I need to be in the warehouse. If I am a production planner, do I need to be in the plant? Yes, maybe I need to be in the plant. That's fine. But there are a lot of job functions in supply chain which doesn't need to be where they are. So right now, almost it means 8 weeks as I'm working from remotely, right? I'm working, and most of my people, most of my analyst team, all my planners, all my demand forecasters, everybody is actually working from home, and they're doing fine job, right? So that tells me this, that there is an opportunity that a lot of supply chain functions can be outsourced. So, for example, I did a project in my previous company without naming names, and there is a function of accounts payable, right? There is a function of the central supply planning, and there is a function of central demand planning. We have outsourced, centralized it, not outsourced. Outsourcing is the wrong word actually. So we have moved out of the expensive European sites, and I have moved that function into a best cost country. So I'm not going to mention the country because I think somebody can Google and find out. But we moved to best cost countries, and it was a really good experience because if you're a demand planner, a supply chain planner, and if you are a supply chain network design specialist for that matter, or a consultant for that matter, or even a trainer. So right now we are having a very, let's call it, training and coaching conversation right now, right? So does it make any difference what I know sitting here in my room and talking? Do I have to be with you physically? The answer is no. I can almost conduct a class right now in Malaysia, Bangladesh, Ukraine, wherever. So even the knowledge transfer and coaching and teaching and training and has can be done remotely, right? So what will happen is, I think, in supply chain or in general, the 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 trend of outsourcing service industry will increase. I'm very certain of that, right? So any service provider which can be any task or activity which can be done remotely can be done, right? For example, there's the famous website called Fiverr. They have already gone ahead and basically they done a lot of work on, if you want to get work done in graphic design, or for example, you need any marketing materials, search engine optimization, and all this. So essentially, they have established the concept. They call it uh, service as a package, right? Or service as a package. So when you talk about product, right, you talk about customer service of the product, you basically think about four things. You think about cost, quality, delivery, and lead time. So if you're buying a milk, or if you're buying a car, or you're buying whatever, you always want a good cost, you want to always want a good quality, you always want on time, and you also want very quick. Hence Amazon is making a lot of money, because lead time is very important, because they offer premium means they have a supply chain network design, and they can deliver next day, and they make money of this because they obviously can, because they have a network to do it. But I think this model will be moved into the service industry, where, for example, Tanzil, for example, you're a consultant or a trainer, and I would say, I know Tanzil, he can do a certain level of consultancy and training, he's an expert on that. And I would say to you, Tanzil, make a package, and you will say like, okay, I can do the consultation or the training, and I will deliver that course. It will be for 2 hours, and you will get this content, and the price will be X amount, and that's it. So you package your training, and you can deliver on the Zoom. You can record it as you are recording right now, and send it, do it live, or record it, send it later, so people can benefit. So what you have done is, you have defined your product, what you're going to deliver by content. You have defined the quality of it, because you said this is the content, and you have defined the lead time, I can do in 3 hours, and you define the price. So price needs to be acceptable. So why not anything which cannot be any decentralized uh, jobs, functions, uh, projects, opportunity, which can be now outsourced, will be outsourced. I'm actually very certain of that, and I'm very much thinking right now to basically create that sort of profile on Esteem Duja, where basically I make people available. For example, if they are expert in certain things, to come in and basically make them some available if somebody wants to hire them. So I'm working on this project right now.
So why not me with you? No problem, because you're
Why not?
prominent. Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's work together. Yeah, that's great. So in that case, what do you think that yes, we are saying about this transformation, and nowadays the service will be mobilized, not the people, and it can be taken from anywhere in the world. So that's the beauty of this pandemic has opened our eyes,
Yep.
so that we can work accordingly. So in between this time, there are some curious mind in the session. They already have raised some questions. Let me take some from there. So I would like to request Mr. Widodo from Indonesia to unmute himself and raise the issue, and let's see how we can have the solution from Dr. Mudassir here. Here, please.
Hello, Dr. Mudaisir.
Hello. What?
So,
How are you?
yeah, I'm good here. And how about you?
Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you too. So actually, I'm Widodo from Indonesia. And right now, I'm working in pulp and paper industry. And right now, we are still operate our line, which is we have 3 lines, production lines. And the best practice that we can do right now is we still produce the full capacity of the product, and we open up our open area, our warehouse. We expand our warehouse. We have 4 warehouse here, and we expand it. We stock all the product, and also we have open area. We stock the product outside of the area. And the issue is coming in when the customer asks us to extend their payment, and they ask to extend their lead time. So we still have to stock the product in our warehouse because we cannot send it to them directly. They ask to extend their payment, and they ask to extend their lead time. So we cannot send out the product. And that practice also we done it with our vendor. We ask to extend the payment for our vendor that give us the spare part, the raw material, and something like that. So that's the thing that we can do at the moment. How do you think about that practice that we do at the moment? Do you
Okay.
have some
So
suggestion or something?
I have a you actually your question is not clear, right? So, but let me actually help you clarify your question. Uh, so in the practice you're doing is this. So what you have done is you have not reduced your production lines because you want to make sure your working capital or your fixed cost maintained, because the more you produce, then the absorption and the fixed cost will be covered, right? People will be busy, they do that. Okay, so from the productivity point of view, somebody will say, yeah, good initiative, yeah, because I'm productive, my plant is productive, right? But then you're producing, there is not enough demand. So what you have done is you've gone ahead, you increase your warehouse capacity and put more stocks in. Okay, fine, that's all good. But then what happened is you have a customer saying, actually stock the product for me, but I cannot pay you on time, I need more payment terms as well. So they're not even pulling the demand, and they're not actually paying you on time. So in all this cycle, right, what is the thing which is affected most? What do you think? Vidadu, what is most affected for your business? As think like a business, not just a supply chain person. Think like a business manager.
As a business, of course, it affect our productivity and also the effectivity of the product that we are producing.
No, not really. What is affected in that is your cash flow, right? Because you are paying people, you are funding your production, you are, basically paying people wages as well. On the other hand, you are putting a lot of inventory in, and I wrote a blog on the inventory carrying cost, right? There's 11 factors of the inventory carrying cost, and you are putting it all there. So you're paying for storage, you're paying for the inventory, you're paying for the anything which is going obsolete, and they're not paying you on time. So the working capital is not coming in. So I'm not really sure how rich is your boss is and how rich is your company is. If you're gonna continue to do the same, my friend, I can tell you this: after 3 months' time, you don't have money to fund it. You just will not have money to fund it, because if the cash is not coming in, how are you going to fund your fixed capital? How are you going to fund your inventory carrying cost? How you're going to fund, basically pay your suppliers, because suppliers needs to be paid, right? So eventually money is not coming in the bank, but the money is going out. Tell me what's going to happen with the working capital. So I don't know who decide that, but for me it doesn't make sense at all. So whoever your CEO, business manager is, ask him who's funding that.
Okay.
So that is the beauty. Even if you consider, just with Widodo, I'm just going to add, there are some businesses around the world that we know they are actually interchange the payment checks. So the check you're receiving from one customer, you are going to hand over this same check to your supplier base. And what's happening here now? Even the customer base are very much affected and victim. So what they're doing, they're without saying they're stopping the payment. So as a matter of fact, so it's a big threat for the company like Widodo is now operating. So Widodo, if I'm also agree with Dr. Mudassir here, because if it's going on like this, so you will be on the newspaper very soon.
Yeah.
So next I'd like to go.
And it's
Yeah, please.
just last point, it's very really easy to do analysis. It's not very difficult. What you just need to do is to do your cash flow forecasting, right? You sit with your finance manager, say, okay, what's my sales forecast next year, what is my stock balances, and what's how your cash flow cash flow look like for next 4 months. And if he says positive cash flow, maybe you have money, life is good. If you don't have money, I think you should change something very fast.
Yeah, that's a good point indeed. And at the same time, like now there is another question from Mr. D. Borwa. So he had made I feel he's from India, and he's from pharmaceutical industry. So that's the beauty of a station. There's so many people from so many industries here, so we can learn from their interaction. So may I request you, Mr. Borwa, to unmute yourself and raise the issue that you're facing right now. Dr. Mudassir is here. Yeah, I helped you. Just I unmuted you for a while. Oh, not working. Yeah, it's unmuted. Yep.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Mudassir and all.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you all?
We good. We good.
Yeah, it's me, Devashish from Bangladesh. Basically, I'm working in SMC Enterprise Limited. It's most of the Bangladeshi knows social marketing company. Mainly, we are producing essential products, pharmaceuticals products, hygiene products, and some food and beverages products.
Mm-hmm.
So from February, what we are facing basically when this pandemic started, since most of the suppliers of our products, especially raw materials, are from sourcing from China and India. So mostly we are stuck with the supplies, though our factories are open. So we are struggling to maintain the supply of raw materials, which will be ultimately affecting our to support the sales. So in such cases, when sourcing are scarce, how we would be, what could be the alternatives, how we can do the rationing of this. Oh, we have started trying from our locals. Most of you knows that in Bangladesh, such opportunities are not there for producing raw materials.
Yeah. Give me one example of raw material. What raw material you're talking about? Just give me one example.
Let's say for ORS or saline, we are bringing dextrose from China.
It's used for the dehydration. It's the oral
Yeah,
saline. Yeah,
oral
for the
saline.
dehydration issues, we use this one. It's just a liquid. We mix it with the water and then drink. So the sources is coming from the other countries.
China and India.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is where the initial, I think the question Tanzil has asked, right? That why we were so reliant on China and why I think we are not going to do it. So Tanzil, by the way, you take the ownership, my friend, because a lot of people are coming in. I'm just getting them in. So we just take the ownership, yeah. So the coming back to your question, so it is challenging. I wrote a blog actually, one of my few blogs in when I started Mudassirism was 4 years ago. Single sourcing strategy versus the dual sourcing or multiple sourcing, right? And it is still one of the highest viewed blogs. And this is where this is about the time right now that you have to think through your sourcing strategy. I mean, you should have think this through before. So what I said in the article was yes, single sourcing is good, is important to build a strategic partnership, but it comes with its own risk, and the risk is actually you are facing right now as we speak. That if something happened to your key suppliers in China, what are you going to do? You got an issue not coming in. This is where you need to have a dual sourcing strategy. So what I have done for our critical parts, and some people still don't like it, I go with 80-20 strategy. So for example, for my main raw material supplies, I would just never buy from a single source, one source. So I'll still go and buy 80% of the spend to a critical source. That's fine, which could be China or wherever they are. But I still keep one more supplier and keep a small supply, maybe a variant of that product, right? Maybe something very similar. Because if I know, and I intentionally keep that into a different part of the world, right? Or maybe locally. So if things goes wrong, how are we going to do it, right? So it's what you're facing right now is pretty normal. And I think if you have not, as you said, you're trying to do already with the local suppliers, you couldn't. But also start thinking, talk to your engineering guys and people like them, what it takes to produce locally. In vertical integration, how you are actually, if you want to produce in the whatever the raw material is in your factory, what it takes. And you would not believe, you will always gonna find some person locally available, maybe not in your company, maybe outside, who has some ideas how to produce this locally, because they, whatever the product or chemical you're buying, the chemistry is not novel. It's not, cannot be novel, right? You just need to think this through how we can produce it. But just don't waste any more time, because the issue with China and not it's going to be there, right? So just think about how we can do further vertical integration and produce locally, and find a different suppliers if you could. Because what is also happening is, of course, when it, as I said, when it comes to petrochemical or any electronic supply, China has taken a lead on certain commodities. But there are other countries, I think if you look into Eastern Europe, which is also petrochemical rich, they can produce similar products. So So I would say try to Google search supplies, especially around which was the ex-USSR, right? And you would not believe in the countries like Croatia, Romania, Ukraine, Hungary, Slovakia. You will find a very good source of those chemicals.
Yeah, in fact, another thing I just can add with you, Doctor, that is why people are focusing towards China and India. The answer is very common. That is the price centric
Prices.
issues. So due to this price centric issues, people are not actually, they don't dare to go for other sources, and that actually made them more scared due to the situation. So here you come, this your ABC analysis there, Dr. Haider Abbas already mentioned one thing, that is 50-30-20 could be a good choice. That is, you mentioned this Pareto law, 80-20 rule, and he just stated this one. So if I relate your ABC analysis tool, that really helped me a lot. It's an easygoing thing. I just put my data and get my solution from there. So that could be even done. So when we are going to discuss about this thing, we are going to analyze our activities and our sourcing issues. So in that case, I believe this ABC analysis could be a great tool for us. What do you say, Doctor?
No, no, absolutely, absolutely correct. But I think the issue, Mr. Mr. Ashish, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Ashish he can't find a supplier, right? So he needs to solve his immediate problem. I think when China is back, then he can have this 80-20 ABC rule and have the majority of the supply coming in from the one source. But the issue right now is, I think he's having is this. So I would say, so come back to the point of the cost. I think you have made a good point here, Tanzil, on the cost. But what I say is this. So when I did a study actually. Uh, it was in 2008, 9, 10 when there was a huge trend of let's go and buy the cheap source in China. Everybody does it. So all the local production we have in European countries, we just gone to China. Even the finished product and India, right? A lot of electronic manufacturing all to India because they can produce it. They have our metal suppliers. They have the local engineers available. They have a lot of cheap labor. They can do the whole lot, right? But people forget two things in outsourcing. I did a maths is as I said, so total cost of ownership. So total cost of ownership is this, that a product cost is just one element of that, right? What you need to understand, if you are producing this locally, what was the lead time, right? And how much inventory you are carrying. So if you go to India and China, that means you have to buy a full container load, right? That's first part. And then you have to have at least 2 to 3 months of stock available if you're in Europe, right? And on the top of that, you need to factor in cost of poor quality, right? Because if the things goes wrong, there's a cost of poor quality, then you're air freighting more, right? And you got a problem. So while you think China as a piece price, $1 versus $1 is from Europe, for example, and 50 cents is from China, but don't look like that. What you need to do is to do an analysis of the total cost of ownership. So the product price plus the inventory carrying cost plus the cost of poor quality. And my study has proven that I have convinced my leadership with factual data that it is better to go to an Eastern European supplier than go for China, despite the fact they have 20% higher labor cost and 20% more piece price because the total cost of ownership was cheaper in Eastern Europe. So look into total cost of ownership.
Yeah, there's the beauty of the strategy, that if yes, sometimes in most of the cases we supply chain people, we used to say we are supply chain people. Actually, I used to say we are cost centric people. So most of the time we're focusing towards the cost, and as a matter of fact, the opportunity cost is very simple. That is the quality. We always sacrificing the quality, and then every time we are having the mail with written urgent, and that has been red color urgent. That is the fire urgent issues. So we are very much familiar with this sort of mail, and this is all happening because of our limited vision. That is the fact. And in that case, here there is a good point stated. Here is a good point stated, that is, we don't see the iceberg, the huge things that is actually sunk under the water. And there is another point stated by Mr. Mustafa Shakil here. That is, we can think in terms of, instead of the macro issues, we can break the factors into the micro level of things, and then we can organize the factors accordingly to work with. So I would like to request Mr. Mustafa Shakil. He is a very good practitioner in our country in terms of logistics here. So could you please state the thing you're thinking, or the question we are going to raise here? Let's learn from you as well. Can you hear me, Mr. Shakil? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Tanzil bhai, for giving me the opportunity. Actually, thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Actually,
Hi,
first of all,
Mustafa.
uh, I'd like to request you, Sir Tanzil bhai. Actually, I'm not getting your point. You maybe mentioned something like that inventory
Okay.
issue.
Let me
I would
let
like to
me
say,
yeah let me help you with this one. Just now you have given an input into the chat box that we have transitioned into that what I call the skill economy to survive. Companies to survive to survive, companies have to break tasks into smaller pieces for automation or outsourcing. Either that, or they will go out of the business. So that is the point I just stated into the crowd, that yes, this is the time to consider, instead of the macro issues, we have to think in a micro way. And each and individual, if we are considering ourselves, that is the Kaizen manner. So I believe that will be that will be helpful for our quality issues. And this time is about to survive first. And if you want to really survive, then along with Mr. Mudassir, I'm also agreed with him that quality is a big factor. Unless you are thinking of your quality, then ultimately the cost of ownership will be huge, and we will be lost in the coming days. Yes, that was actually I wanted. So I believe the Azan is happening over there. Azan is taking place. So we'll come back to.
I will get back to you later. Azan is happening here.
Yeah. So please, we will get back to you again. So let's come to the discussion point once again back. So what you think this your amazing contribution throughout this supply chain people with more than 150 blogs, and the continuation is with SCM Dijo right now and other things. So what is the ultimate vision? Yes, initially you said that yes, we are learning, and also I would like to add with you that why we do PhD. One of my professor once said that yes, Tanzil, if you are a professional, after 65 years of age, you will be a retired person. And if you are a PhD, the more age you will be having, the more, I mean, the price of your pen will be going much higher. So that is something that one of my professor once said with me. So that will increase your value over the years. So yes, that's for sure. So why actually we are thinking, why you thought this, all people when they're talking of supply chain management, they are considering this operations, machine, materials and other things, but you have added this people concept. What is the key behind that?
Yeah, so that's the four pillars of supply chain strategy. That's the topic we talked about. Okay, so let's go through that. Actually, I have a blog on this, and that's probably one of my few initial theories. And over the years I've built few others, but this is one of my initial, let's call it, philosophies, if you want to build it. So what I've noticed over working in last I think it was now it's 15 years. At that time, it was 10 years. Then whenever I try to solve any supply chain problem, because supply chain is very process focused, right? So what is a process? Process is basically a box which is a set of activities, and it has an input and it has the output, right? So if as long as there is no good input coming in, you will not get the right output. So anything which can do in supply chain, you can actually do a process design for that, right? So that's one part. So most of the problems in supply chain, when I think about a problem, it can be fit into four columns. So first is people, second is process, third is systems, and fourth is execution, right? So let's start with. So you need to start with this. For everything you do in terms of buying, let's call it all basic supply chain flow, basically, which is starting from buying, making to delivery. The basic elements of the supply chain, from the sourcing to purchasing to production to distribution, the basic elements. All of that can be designed as a process. So once you have this, you have to write it down. You need to have a clear policy, and on the top of that, what you need to do is to people needs to know, because if you are too much people dependent, people move on, right? And you don't know what that person was doing. Okay, so people are the, as we said, is a key asset, because most of the job we do right now in supply chain, as I said, in the one of the recent quotations on LinkedIn, it had almost went viral, that uh, as a supply chain people, except the people who touches the product, like production people or the warehouse people, we only do one thing: we manage information, right? And we need to be so super good in managing information. So I recently done a master's course in, I'm also teaching in the University of Heriot-Watt, and I taught the course on the supply chain strategy. One of the thing I keep saying to people, I, as a supply chain manager or professional, from when I was even a buyer demand planner until now, I'm a very senior executive. I do one thing: I manage information, and I manage information to manage material flow. I I don't go and see my suppliers in China or Japan or wherever. What I do is my job is to send the right information the right time, right, to reach there for them to use the right information. So I need to be very good in managing information. So who is managing information? People managing information. If the people are not good in managing information, then you got a serious problem. And I think anybody who is not good in managing information should think about having a career in supply chain or not, right? And there are tools available for that. I mean, it could be your WhatsApp, email, Zoom, whatever. I don't care, but they need to manage the right information. And to understand and to manage that information, you need to know your product, you need to know your business, you need to know your key stakeholders. So acquire knowledge, learn knowledge, be very good in managing information, because this is what we do as a supply chain people. So coming back to then it comes to a people, right? So the people needs to have the right skill set, they need to have a right goal, they have to have a right competencies, right, to be trained to manage information. So as I said, right now, if I'm hiring somebody, if that person has 55% good in technical information, like demand planning, inventory management, and 45% is good in communication, I'll hire that person. I don't really care, everything you need to know about demand forecasting or your statistical forecasting. If you're not good in communication, if you're not good in communicating information, what I'm going to do with your technical skills? Not much, am I? Right? So be good in communication, which is related to the information management, right? So hence and you need to define as a people a clear job structures, the roles and responsibilities, their accountabilities, right? So you need to be very clear that this person is responsible for demand planning, his backup is this guy. This person is responsible for production planning, his backup is this person, right? So clear roles and responsibilities, accountability. So once people have a clear accountability, then you should tell them you are owner of these key processes, right? So for example, if I have a logistics leader with the key standard work, then I have to tell him that anything I ship out from this warehouse, you are the owner of this. So if you put a wrong product in a wrong box, is your problem, and you're gonna tell me why it happens, because you own that process, right? My job as a manager is actually to go and do process checks, right? So the process I have defined, are people following or not? So design a process, train people on the processes with the clear roles and responsibilities. So that's the people pillar and the process pillar, right? If you don't have a process, you can't train people. Simple as this, right? Then it comes to system. And I've seen system is important. You need to have a system. You need to have a data is very important. But I've seen people go and spend a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars, and don't use it. Then I have seen somebody spend about $750,000 on a forecasting software, only train two people, and guess what? Those two people, one was hired by the company who actually built the software, and one left, and they don't even know how to use it, and $750,000 gone down the drain. So only use the system if you have a processes around it to build the system, to use the system, and people are trained, right? So don't go and buy big software, right, or spend too much money if you are not clear with your key processes, current processes, or you think you have people to train, right? So make that. So once you are doing the feasibility in the studies or RO, return of investment studies, this is an important part of that. So yeah, use the system, but make sure the current processes are designed around the systems you are using, and people are trained to use the system and the processes, right? So they are the three elements. Now execution, and execution is the key, and I cannot emphasize enough. Execute, execute, execute. Do not spend, because what we do, and I've seen, and it's really pisses me off when people do it. They spend big meetings, plenty of meetings, so much time in brainstorming, listing down actions, discussion point, data charts, and reporting. I think that's just a waste of time. I say spend less time and emotion and energy in discussion point, listing down action. I would say execute, and once you execute, you will learn that the decisions you made, the data you have chosen, and the actions you are about to do is actually the right thing. And just follow the PDCA cycle. You know, the famous saying of the Silicon Valley: fail fast and learn fast, right? So spend more time in execution, fail fast and learn fast, and do better.
Wow. So that is the pillar. So if you consider back in 2017, can you remember not that Robert Freeman was taking one of your interviews on 2017?
Yes, yes.
So that time when I went through the article and as also the podcast, that time I thought that in one day I will bring Dr. Mudassir Ahmed with me in my session. And you say today, after 3 years, it has really taken place. So
Very nice.
that's the vision. If you really have a vision inside you, that time it doesn't matter. Time is the right thing that one day it will come to you and that will make you happy. So Alhamdulillah. So at the same time, I got another point that is coming from our female participant here, Mr. Shadada Yasmin Lisa. So I'd like to request you please unmute yourself and raise the thing that you are looking for. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Assalam.
You're Lisa. Basically, I'm working as a section head of procurement of Honda, Bangladesh Honda Private Limited. We are the manufacturing motorcycle using the Japanese technology. So in this pandemic situation, I have a three question basically. As a foreign direct investment searching for China alternative. So is there any Bangladesh potentiality to they can execute, replace they can think Bangladesh as a China alternative? So this is the first question, and is there any job scopes is there for Bangladesh professional? First, this is the first question. And second question is, we would like to know, because Mudassir Bhai is a very doing so many research and is a global person. We want to know from Mudassir Bhai, what is the best supply chain adapting practice global based company supply chain professional are doing now to minimize the future risk?
Okay.
We'd like to know. And third thing is, would you please share few cost optimization way we can apply in our operation now without sacrificing the product quality and utilization of existing manpower? That's mean we don't want to sacrifice any, that is the cost of the poor quality, what you said earlier, and we don't want to remove any manpower cost. So the way, then the how way we can say optimize our cost now. Thank you so much.
Okay, Lisa, good questions. Tanzil, I can't answer the first one. You want to take the first one?
The first one.
Yeah, I cannot answer that.
Yeah, actually, the first one is quite, it's clear because till of now, the thing we are discussing, even Dr. Mudassir, and I also agree with that one. Even in our last sessions, we said that people are having more nowadays. This crisis, if you consider, this is not like that we have shortage of our resources, we have shortage of our money supply. The thing is like we are actually captured by the nature, and today or tomorrow that will be overcome. So what is going to have? In that case, there will be a big rush. When there will be a, definitely there will be cost cuddle. People will, the companies will be thinking with more, having less people around us. So what they are going to do, they're looking for the efficient people. So if the efficiency is there, definitely the time is for those people, those who are really competitive into the industries. And the limit is the entire world. So when you are efficient enough, when you are just now, Dr. Mudassir has said that if someone is more efficient in the communication rather than of the techniques, he will be looking for those people. So in that's the reason why since the very first session of my Let You Inside Out, I'm talking about this thing that if we just consider ourselves, this is the right time. This pandemic situation has given us the time to focus on our own self. So if we focus on our own self, and if we can groom ourselves, then there are a lot of opportunities are waiting for us to adapt. And it doesn't matter from which country we are, the global market is ready to cope with this one. Even if you see recently, the Twitter said the 100% employees are allowed to work from their home. So it doesn't matter from where you are. The thing is like whether you are capable or not. So that is I believe will cover most of the part of the question one. What do you think?
Yeah. No, that's fine. I think the specific question on the reliance on China, I think we already covered that part, and as a lessons for all of us really. And I actually see this as an opportunity. So if you in if I were you actually, Lisa, or the people, I would just go to LinkedIn actually, social media, and I just post it saying, I'm looking for a supplier on this part in China, or your WhatsApp group, and I can assure you that you would not believe that somebody will come in, right? Somebody will come in and tell you, okay, I can do it. So it's just about putting the question out there and asking the question. I have recently found suppliers to other people, and I'm part of certain groups. You just need to go and just put the question out there, and you will believe that somebody will come back with the opportunity. So ask the question. So I'll move to the second one, which is the best practices global supply chain and minimize the future risk. Okay, so good question. About this one, I have a blog on the supply chain risk. So again, there's a lot of risk available. One of them is the pandemic. One of them is the bankruptcy. There is also a risk of the reliance on the economy, brand risk, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to best practice, uh, we call this a business continuity plan. So your business, the I think Honda Bangladesh motorcycle business, the question is, do they have a business continuity plan? A business continuity plan should not just only talked about what's going to happen if there's an earthquake in the factory, God forbid, right? It should also talked about if the situation like pandemic, how you're going to find the file, what is your alternative sources, how you're going to minimize that gap. And so those sort of risk assessments are available, which you can go and find. So use that. When it comes to the global general best practices. So as I said, if you go to Simdujo, there's a guides available for warehousing, self-assessment, SNOP, materials management. They're all available. You can basically use those self-assessment, see the gaps in your organization, and go and close those gaps. So there's a lot of useful material available to minimize. So it's all about understanding the risk, doing the risk assessment. Again, there's plenty available, and then you basically highlight the risk and close the risk. So the third one is the cost optimization way without sacrifice. Again, a good question. There are plenty of ways. I think I wrote a blog about an year and a half ago on the cost optimization, or things you can reduce. I think the ideas I've given to people in terms of, you should look into your total spend, you should look into your indirect spend, you should look into your electricity bills, where you can save cost. Most importantly, right now is a very good opportunity to go and negotiate with your suppliers, because that's what I've done. I've just gone to all my suppliers and I said, guys, business is down, I need help. As a thing we discussed earlier, saying, give me a longer payment terms, or give me 20% reduction. And you would not believe that most of your supplier would agree. So you just need to go and ask that question, right? Do
I believe Ududu will not be happy with this thing, right?
but ask the question. So the question, Lisa, is: are you clear? What are your top 10 spend categories?
Yes, yes.
You are
We already
clear.
categorized ABC analysis. We already done.
You got that right. So from that, I think you just need to go and lead suppliers, and say, double times, mate, you need to give us some sort of cost reduction. One more thing you also people do, which we don't realize, is focus on reduction of lead time. What I mean by focus on reduction of lead time is not that if you're supplied in China or India and ask them to air freight. What I mean by that is you can go and ask them to do a vendor managed inventory. So, for example, you can have a VMI program with them and say, okay, I'll carry the inventory in my warehouse, but I only pay you once I use it. So, set up a consigned inventory system. And I've used this extensively, and I've used it very successfully. So by doing that, what happened is you basically eliminate your raw material cost because they are paying, right? They are your strategic partner, they are paying. Secondly, you cut your lead time because inventory is just there, right? And therefore you reduce your inventory carrying cost. So use these kind of strategies. And I think if you go to SCM Dojo, there's a blog on this. You can basically get more ideas. Or just email me or message me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'll send you the article.
Yeah. In that case, I'd like to ask one question. That is, inventory is waste. We always say about this thing. But and that's the reason why we always try to mitigate the minimum level of inventory, that is a safety stock. We are very much concerned about this part. So in this situation, what do you advise for this thing?
Okay, this is one of my favorite topic, but I'm just doing one thing. Actually, I have found copy one of the articles. So I'm going to post both of those articles here. Just give me 1 second. Copy, and I come here, and I'm going to. So this is the article on the 27 strategies of cost reduction. You can read that, Lisa, and come to the point of, you mentioned about the safety stock, right? Or inventory. Repeat the question again, Tanzil, please.
That is, the inventory is the waste. So during this pandemic, that all people, where they look forward the safety stock, they want to mitigate the level of safety stock. So they're looking for more JIT issues. So what do you think during this pandemic? What would be the best advice for those people? I mean, the business.
Okay. Yeah. So again, I think this is a great opportunity to calibrate and reassess your safety stock and material planning processes. So when it comes to safety stock, essentially it's okay. So there's 4 things you need to know. So you need to understand 4 variables. So one is your average demand, your average lead time. Second is demand variation and lead time variation. So these 4 variables actually are the one who drives the safety stock. Okay. Again, so if you think about demand variation is huge right now because you don't know what's going to happen. Could be lead time variation because your suppliers are not supplying on time. So the variation of that is very, very high in terms of understanding. So what I will do is suggest is this: do a ABC analysis straight away. Do it again, right? Because the things have been changed drastically. I have a free tool available on. You just go and upload the data, and it will give you ABC analysis. I have a vlog on that, how to do it by using value, volume, and frequency. You can use my vlog, and there's a blog on this. So there's a huge amount of content available, and the tool available on SCM Dojo. So use it, do the ABC analysis again. So once you do the ABC analysis, then you would say, from my previous made to stock parts, how many of them are become made to order, right? Okay, so that is one of the key things. So you will notice that most of your old made to stock item, which was maybe A class items, now have become B class items or C class items. right? And then thinking, if they are B and C class items, do I really need to carry a safety stock? And in most cases, you probably think you don't have to carry a safety stock, right? Because B class item, in my view, should be assembled to order, C should be made to order. So before you do any safety stock analysis, just to summarize, do ABC analysis first, then decide made to stock, made to order. So once you know what are your made to stock, made to order items, then you do a safety stock calculation using any of the formulas, right? Clearly the demand is down, then you should be reducing your safety stock. In the days, I don't, and again, people say, what is the best formula of safety stock? And I say, I don't care what is the best formula, just use a formula, right? Which has 4 variables. Again, average demand, average lead time, demand variables, lead time variables. And even I have written a blog. If you search, safety stock calculation, the formula, you will see that blog in first page of Google. I have mentioned 6 formulas. I don't know which one is best. I just use one of them. And I think the safety stock is also very much down to the service levels. So do you want to hit 90% service levels? Do you want to hit 95% service levels, 98% service levels? So the cost of inventory between 98% and 90% is huge, is 30% and more difference. So what you need to assess, can I get by with 90% on time delivery? And I can assure you that most of your customers will say, yeah, 90% is fine, right? So do your safety stock calculation, understanding what is your expectation, because some customers are a bit tricky one. They might say, I need 98. Okay, for those specific customers, you do the calculation based on your 90%, 98% model, and you guys will be very pleased to hear. One of my, again, pet projects these days is, I have in my 10 years in supply chain, I managed to create a model, inventory optimization model. And the model actually takes your last 12 months sales and takes your inventory and the current safety stock, and we put into a big mathematical calculation. And at the end, you will get the report. And report will tell you not just ABC, it will tell you the sum of your made to stock items should be made to order. It will recommend you safety stock calculation, but that model based on your expected on-time delivery. So what you want, so the difference between inventory carrying cost of 98% and 90% is huge. And you will actually realize most of your business can get by 90% on time delivery. So I have given a very complicated answer of a very simple question, but the message I'm trying to say, it is a very important question, and the answer is not simple. It is a complicated answer, and it requires a very diligent uh, calculation and a level of analysis, starting from ABC, then your made to stock, made to order, and then your safety stock calculation.
Okay, in that case, that's really a good point indeed, because there are a lot of most of the people are looking for a very common structured solution and the formulations. But in the real aspect, there's a reason why I always say that if you consider the book itself is a good reference, but it's not the Bible. So we have to blend our knowledge, and the person who wrote the book, he wrote it or she wrote it with their own limited ideas and knowledges. So when we are going to deal with those literature, then we have to, in reality, we have to make a blend so that it adds some value to our real aspect. Otherwise, it's nothing but the book.
Yeah,
So
I think Ali Akbar have a very good question. I think he raised his hand. So
yeah,
yeah,
I'm going to give him the floor. Yeah, Mr. Ali Akbar,
yeah,
please.
I would.
And before that, I just, guys, please excuse me, because this is my iftar time, so I'm just breaking my fast. So I believe you don't mind, huh? Because different people, different timing. Huh? Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mudassir Bhai. This is Ali Akbar. Currently, I'm working in Meta Group of Industries as a Deputy Manager, Supply Chain Management. I'm
Good.
in the planning set department, planning part,
Yeah.
basically. So, yeah, I heard your overall discussion, and from that point, I thought that I would like to add something just with you. That is, yes, the very important part of managing the inventory is completely aligned with the customer service agreement, whatever we are trying to focusing on. But in line with this, we also need to focus. I hope you would agree that DPA, demand plan accuracy, which is also currently missing in Bangladesh at a huge level, because demand plan accuracy, whatever the sales target is, and in line with that sales target, whatever we are going to achieve, Because if the sales target, if our GD team, generating demand team, raise their sales target at a maximum level, but they achieve at the end of the month, they achieve actually much lower than the, say for example, 70% or 80% level. So then 80% or 85% is moderately the international standard, but whenever it is lower than 70%, then there is a question about managing the inventory as per the customer service level agreement. Because in our country, we facing the main challenging part is the distribution part, because we are not getting vehicle on right time, based on which we can actually commit that yes, after getting your order, we will try to replenish your order within 48 hours or 72 hours, or within 24 hours, in some cases 2 to 3 hours, based on the location. So most of the case, we are actually missing the part of DPA, demand plan accuracy. So if demand plan accuracy is, the higher the demand plan accuracy, the more accurate the service level agreement. I think so. So I don't know whether whatever, if anyone has some, maybe have some good part, but I think that this concept I can share with you.
So I think most of the points you are right, but I think the last bit you said, I want to add one note. So demand plan accuracy, it is not directly correlated to the customer service met. Okay, it is an element.
Yes,
it is an element.
Yes.
It's an element, but not related, because the customer service as a metric have more input in terms of what's your inventory strategy, what is your customer service level agreement, right? What's your production plans and things like that, right? So so most of the things you said, right? And I think very few companies I have seen who actually measure their demand plan accuracy. And if you're doing it, I would like to say you are doing a very good job. So congratulations for that, right? But I think you made this point here on stock management is very important, but we should try to reduce inventory carrying costs. And again, that's a very important point, because I think, and I keep saying in my lectures, inventory is nothing but a money in a different form. It's still a money. So you rather have that money in a bank account, giving you more money back, or you investing it, or buying something more, growing your business, rather than millions or thousands of dollars sitting in the warehouse is doing nothing. So there's a famous saying from Steve Jobs, by not Steve Jobs, the Apple CEO Tim Cook, that inventory is like perishable goods. If you don't use it within on time, they go waste. And so it's very important to do inventory carrying cost analysis, right? It is complicated because you have to know what is the insurance cost, what is the space cost, warehousing cost, handling cost. People don't have time. So what I just say to people, a simple method of inventory carrying cost is this: that if you have a $5 million inventory, for example, then assume if I put that money in my bank account, how much interest they're gonna give me. If they're gonna give me 5% or 10% or 6%, so that number is simply inventory carrying cost. That's my suggestion.
And I also like to share with one of my another contribution in my organization. That is, as I am working in the FMCG part, fast moving consumer goods part. So we are very much trying to focus on managing the finished goods shelf life. That is, we are maintaining the freshness KPI. That is, which is one of the more major part in basically consumer goods. Yeah. So yes, we are trying to fulfill the demand plan accuracy. We are trying to managing the freshness KPI, as well as recently we have gone through customer service level agreements with different vendors, transport service providers, so that we can get our desired vehicle within the limited time, within our required timeline, so that we can fulfill our customer demand on time.
Yeah. So one second. Yeah, I think you're right. right? So let me see if we got any other good questions, right? Because I think we're heading towards the end. I don't want to leave people hanging. So let me see if we got any questions at the end, and we want
Before,
to.
while you are searching for a question, let me let me ask you a question regarding in most of the organizations, supply chain management people is still considered as the functional people, not the direct line business. So how you read that one? And most of the cases they are being treated under finance. So how you actually think this one, that during the decision making procedure and other things, these supply chain people, most of the cases are actually having the final decision played into the bus in front of them, that this is the decision you have to execute it with the thing. You have to add up the thing whatever this is coming towards you. So how you are going to think about this one, and what is your advice to the business owners and the organizations that they're dealing in that way?
Uh, okay, first of all, I think it's a good question people ask as well, right? Oh, I should be in a direct business, should be not the support function and all that. So I'm gonna answer two important point, maybe three, depends if I remember. The first thing, I really don't understand why in Asian countries, especially, supply chain comes in finance. I got no idea, because they think as a support cost, right? I have no idea whatsoever why I do it. But I hardly worked in Asian countries, so I don't know. I mostly work in Europe and or in Middle East and Africa. So in my what I've seen in Middle East and Africa, and mostly in Europe in my life in UK and Sweden and Denmark and USA, they actually supply chain is a separate department, separate function. One of the key functions in the business, like you have marketing and sales, finance and product line. So it's generally a separate function. So whoever actually who the companies have a separate, coming finance and supply chain, because they think it's just a cost, it's just a plain and simple stupid. So you can actually refer to them to me, or basically ask them to watch my video, and I just tell them I said it, this is plain and simple stupid, right? Because supply chain is a separate individual function, and we are the people who make things happen, right? So now come to the part of the, I think you said why we always consider it as a support function, and this is happening because of two reasons. It's one is the very much the cost accounting reason. The cost accounting reason, what I mean by that is uh, the the supply chain cost is not accounted by accounting principle in the cost of product. So when you see the cost of product, is three elements, right? Is the material, labor, and overhead, right? And the support cost in the cost accounting principle, which is your distribution cost, your warehousing cost, and the cost related to that, sits outside your product cost, right? And therefore they because of this reason, we are always considered as a support function or the support cost, and you cannot change that, because that's the accounting principle. So let's stop fighting that battle, because we just cannot win that battle, right? However, I think the question you are asking is why supply chain is not playing more a strategic role in the business direction. I think that's a better question to ask, right? So because you can't change the cost accounting principle, but the question you should be asking is how I make my supply chain function as a as an important function and a strategic function, which involve in a key decision making, rather than, oh, just don't ship less, reduce my inventory, reduce my cost, or hire temporary people, right? And this is what I'm trying to promote, and hence my four pillars of supply chain strategy, because that four pillars of people, process, systems, and execution is effectively not about supply chain, is it? You can take that four principle and you can apply it to any function, right? And within my business, and I'm being successful, I've been able to promote that. It may be IT, maybe finance, it may be marketing. Focus on this. So that's one element. The second thing I'm promoting very strongly is supply chain is a function which gives businesses competitive advantage. And I cannot emphasize enough on this point, right? The differentiator right now, the thing is, only very few companies can innovate, right? Apple is an innovator, I don't know, a few other companies, Dyson is an innovator, but essentially not many people can innovate. You can, whatever like Miss Lisa was talking about the motorbikes, and Woodadu were talking about his timber supply, whatever. You have competition. Everybody has a competition, right? And they might have a better product than you. You know, they might even have a product cheaper than you, right? But you cannot just keep reducing cost, can you? You just cannot keep reducing that, right? You cannot innovate it so much, because innovation is limited. It costs more money. So if you want to grow a business and better customer service, you need to differentiate in your the second and third element of the four level of customer service experience I talked about. So cost, you maybe you can do so much. Product quality is product quality, you have to maintain. But what you can always improve is your on time delivery and your lead time, right? And if you improve that, that means you're giving yourself a competitive advantage to do better, to do more, to do better, to do more, and to do more reliably. Your more reliable suppliers. And that is why Amazon is so famous around the world, because and they actually charge premium because they are reliable suppliers. So just start practicing and preaching people that we as a supply chain people are the strategic people who basically enable the businesses we work in to give you a competitive advantage by supplying uh, a more by supplying, let's call it supply chain design, which gives better delivery and quicker lead times, which basically give us more business, and business will grow.
Great. I think you already have another session after this one,
Yeah.
and you have a rush to go there. And this before ending the session, I would like to request there is a hand raise here, Mr. Nipun Nur Muhammad Ali. So can you please elaborate the thing that you're going to say? And I believe Dr. Mudassir, are you comfortable with this one? Because last maybe one or two questions, is it okay with you?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. 5 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Assalam.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes. Hello. Hi, my name is Nipun, and I'm working in Toyota Bangladesh, the sales supply chain. So I have a question about stocking and inventory planning. You know that for the after sales of supply chain planning, there's always some confusion about what to follow. Specifically, if I am mentioning that for the new model launch or new product launch, right? There's some supply chain planning for production. Okay, right? After CBO or after complete production, the product going to market and people are experiencing that. But after they have any problem, they come to service center or they come to the company for the next support. So that's supply chain, after sale supply chain. So for new model or new product, what we should follow right now. Recently, what we experienced that many times we just simply making it simple. Okay, 5% stock or follow the close model or follow your trends. But for the new model, we could not do that. That follow the trends or follow the new model because we don't have data of previous history. That's why what we do 5% of common stock we just stocking for the after sales support. So my question is there any kinds of suggestion you have during this supply chain of after sales support supply chain inventory planning and stocking policy, specifically
Okay.
for
Okay.
electronics and automobile industry? That is that for this industry.
Okay. So you essentially are mixing two concepts, right? Let me clarify that part. So after sales is different than the new model launch and new model introduction. So you are right in saying if I'm launching a new product, a new design, I don't have much sales history, and how would I know what to keep in stock, manage my inventory, and things like that. That's a common problem to have. So I'm going to segregate these two in my answer, and you tell me if I answered your question or not. So new product introduction is right. So the best people is your marketing estimates, right? And forget COVID right now. The COVID is like once in 100 years event. So I'm not going to give you advice around COVID, but that's just no one knows. I don't know even what's going to happen in the new product launch of COVID. But I'm going to give you general advice when the things are normal in life. So once you launch a product, you have no choice but to get your marketing input in terms of what they think it will sell. So you have maybe in a product range or new product line, you have certain estimates, and you put that on you put that in stock. So what do you realize? Some of them will sell, some of them will not sell. Uh, then what will happen is uh, so you do the estimation in terms of what they're not selling. You go back and challenge them and don't buy again. So that's the challenge. But what is important is, as long as you realize that certain SKUs or certain product line are not selling for new product introduction, you keep a track. So I'll give you practical advice. What I actually used to do is, to in my SNOP process, I used to have a separate slide saying new product launch. That's my current inventory. So I put my initial launch stock, right, and I put that, what do I have everything in stock or not. So let's assume you're a good supply chain professional and you have done whatever they ask you to do business wise. They put everything in stock. Great, well done. But then in every SNOP meeting, you present that slide. Okay, we expect to sell X amount every month. We have sold something or we have not sold. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And then what will happen is, where there's a thumbs down for those product line, you just do not order again. Do not order, wait for it. So that's the new product introduction. Now you come to the after sales. After sales is a different ball game actually, right? After sales is a different challenge in terms of and is more business model. So let me give you two examples. When I was in the aerospace industry, the aerospace, when they launch a plane by contractual after the plane launched, so I was supplying to for example Rolls Royce, who make engines, and Rolls Royce was supplying to Boeing. So I was almost like a second tier supplier. But Boeing have a contact with Rolls Royce to have this supply chain ready for next 20 years, because a plane life is 15 years, average plane life. For next 15 years, the plane parts should be ready. So by virtue of that, Rolls Royce has made us forced to keep parts for 15 years. But the thing is, I'm keeping my parts, but they're not moving, because sometimes plane goes off, not who knows, right? And this is where the challenge is. So what do you need to do for after sales? You need to review your service contracts, right? Because you will realize during your service contracts that some of the service contracts are basically not worth it. You need to challenge them, saying, hey, what's the point, right? So get out of that, and maybe you outsource some of that part. Maybe give it to your supplier. You don't have to carry that, because maybe better to give it to a supplier. One more actually suggestion I've seen: the hydraulics. Hydraulics have the same issue. Hydraulics industry, when I was working, they have a 5 years of after sales supply uh, contracts. Then what we said is, because we don't want to carry inventory, we start using 3D printing. So when they send the request to us to do I don't know, metal part or rubber part, we actually produce parts using 3D printing. So there are, I don't know what product you were talking about, but think innovatively how we can fulfill service contracts after sales.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let's,
All right.
Well,
thank you.
yeah.
So
there is one last question that is
Tanzil, you're dragging it. You know that, right? We're supposed to finish at 3:30.
Yeah. So I just surrender, and that is the last question. And after that, I just draw that conclusion.
It doesn't have to be the last session. We can do one in every 2 months, 3 months. I'm okay with that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
In that case, just
Let's have a session. I have a question, right? And we maybe arrange in 2-3 months time one more session. I'm okay with that.
okay, that's great. So I'll get back to you again on that, and thank you so much for accepting that one as well. So in that case, as the time is most important here, and I believe that is the key value to our every.
What is the last question? Ask the last question quickly.
Okay, here is Mr. Saiful. Please go on. Thank you. Okay, unmuted. Yeah. So first unmute yourself. Yeah, it's okay now.
Hello, sir. This is Saiful Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam, Saiful Islam. How are you?
Sir, how are you today, sir?
Very good, mate.
So
I need some water, because I've been talking with Tanzil for last 2 hours. Now I'm thirsty and I'm fasting, so I blame Tanzil for this.
Sir, I have 3 questions to you. First one was I do always follow to your LinkedIn and Facebook page, and there is a one word like SCM Duzo. What's the meaning of Duzo? Number one.
Okay.
And number two is you always write try to write something like practicing through the uh, uh, parting through the day. So
Parting thoughts, okay, of the day. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
parting thoughts the day. So how did you get it, and where did you get it? Is it invention by you or from others? And last question is, we are talking about our today inventory and demand forecasting, and in a supply chain we know this uh, in a word supply chain is that is only customer satisfaction. So we discuss today inventory, ABC analysis, make order, buy order, and all calculations. So uh, we are focusing customer related, or we are focusing something like that in a supply chain. So why don't we focus in Velocentric as a supply chain?
So why
So
don't
my
we focus
question is
what? Why don't we focus? Say it again.
Velocentric, like Velocentric.
What
So
is
in a word,
Velocentric?
we can say supply chain as a Velocentric,
I don't know what Velocentric means.
rather customer centric.
Okay, value centric. Okay, 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 I get it. Okay, value
Thank you.
centric. Okay, so you actually, I asked for one last question. You asked me three, right? So I'm gonna answer. First of all, I think you were late in the joining, Saf. So I explained at the end when I in my introduction. The word dojo is arrived from a Japanese word. You know, the where you run karate and things like that. So dojo means the place to learn and meditate. So STM Dojo is and supply chain management dojo. That means a place to learn for you to meditate and share ideas and basically upskill. It's like you are, it's like when you are, taekwondo or judo, you basically upskill yourself when you go to a dojo, and hence the whole philosophy of the word dojo. I mean, you just Google the word dojo, and there is a very nice Wikipedia page, Wikipedia page there. The second question you asked, my final thoughts of the day. No, final thoughts of the day is not my original concept. I have actually saw someone doing it. I don't remember who. I think there is some sort of HR guru I was following. I can't remember his name a few years ago, and I thought he was good at this, but then he stopped doing because he probably ran out of his final thoughts of the day. I think I sent to privately to Tanzil. I sent it to all, in fact. Saif, I just send the link to everyone on the what does dojo mean, so you can have a look. So I do that. So do you like this final thoughts of the day, Saif? Are they good?
So did you like it, Saif?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So yeah, so don't complain, right? So just enjoy it.
Okay.
Okay. The
So
third
that-
one is and the third one is a good question, Saf. Why we call it supply chain? Why not value chain? Okay. I think it's a very intelligent question if you think about it, because eventually supply chain, in my view, would turn out to be the value chain, but it depends on the evolution of the function, right? Right now, we are, if you think about where we are, 20 years ago in 1980s, the first supply chain did not really exist as a function. It was more purchasing or logistics or materials, they used to call it. So supply chain is basically grown into 1990s and 2000s, right? Fortunate for us. So now I think people are, so SNOP will become IBP now. They call it integrated business planning. And now we are the supply chain people now trying to involve into financial forecast, business strategy. So we're going towards that. So we are going up into more into upstream of the business. So it will eventually maybe turn out to be a value chain. But the value chain is a much bigger topic, right? I don't think we are ready as a supply chain professionals to claim the throne on this. So very good question, but I think let's wait and see. I think we might get there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing to have your wonderful session, Dr. Mudassir Ahmed, and I would like to thank you from the entire crowd here. And if I just wrap up this entire session, that one thing that actually buzzed into my mind, that you have shared the couple of very important things for today that will be helping us for tomorrow. That is, be open. Those who are a bit late, I'm just helping them to have the understanding of the entire session that we found from Dr. Mudassir Ahmed there. So be open, be alternative, talk to your customer. Is the right time to talk to your customer, and definitely we all have to take the ownership of of we have to take the cost of our ownership, and we have to go back to our ABC analysis once again, and definitely, and from there we have to prioritize which is the best thing for us, which we have to focus in a specific way, and definitely we have to integrate with this thought, with this analysis, with our customer and the supplier base. We have to regularly talk with their suppliers and as well as the customers. Let be open ended, and the best practice is to use our next every moment, the best, the most valuable commodity of our life, that is the time. So if we are well using of our time today, so that will give us the better tomorrow, for sure. So that is the thing, that yes, think big and focus the smallest thing, that is the micro units. If we consider the micro units today, that will be shifting our paradigm towards the next culture, that is the true supply value chain culture, I believe. So thank you so much, Dr. Mudassir Ahmed, and I believe that is not the end. And I just want to let the screen to you, so for the end speech, and I believe that will be precious, and I will see you back again with us very soon, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, guys, just the final thought for me. I really enjoyed this. Very, very nice question. And actually, I feel the warmth and the passion in this group. So, thank you for Tanzil for organizing. Honestly speaking, I was not expecting a very engaging session. I thought it's just gonna be, just question and answer based. I will be talking and not doing it. So, well done, Tanzil, for organizing this. I enjoyed the communication. I have not prepared anything. I asked Tanzil, give me some questions before, and he just left me hanging, right? So, on any questions you've thrown in, I have done zero preparation, which I actually oppose against, because I'm always a big advocate of people to prepare. Even for the next topic, I would like to think, oh, let's pick a topic and let's prepare something, right? And so that is that. And I would like to do one thing. So in life, every exchange needs to be counted. So if you have learned anything from me, I have learned anything from you, that needs to be counted. And I'm a big believer of giving and karma, right? So if I give you something useful and something better, and I would expect you to do the same, right? What I expect you guys to do is to my blogs are free, my knowledge is free, it takes nothing. We are all into a lot of social media, we are into WhatsApp groups, we are into many other places. What my request would be, if you like anything I do or share or content, just share it forward, benefit it forward, right? And benefit other people, right? And you will get the same deal. This is how the world goes. So my only request to you is, if you have done something good, to share it forward, tell more people, so more people can benefit, and inshallah you will benefit for the same reason.
So that's the beauty, actually. There's a reason why I didn't share that. There are a bunch of questions with me, and I didn't share anything with you. The reason was, when you told me that, yes, Tanzil, please share me the questions for my better grooming. I said, you are already well groomed. No need to do that one. So there's the reason why actually I didn't share the thing with you. And the most important thing is, like, yes, you're right. And before you join with us in this session, since last before the time, the last half an hour was the promo, that was your vlogs, and were like streaming into the into our Facebook group. That is, already we have like more than 3,000 and 1,000 members into our Facebook groups, and which is very nominal if we consider with you. So again, we are if we say in that way, that we are a blind follower, we are learning a lot of things from you, and the entire, especially the subcontinent people like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and even I'm very happy to see people from France here, people from UAE, people from Africa. So they have been joined here, people from Indonesia, they have been joining here because of your contribution. And you just say that that is for free. And when you do something good for the community, and that is helping a lot of people, that time it doesn't matter what you are doing. The thing is, like, people will be following you, and that is the reflection here what you found today. So I believe Allah give you the good health with safety life, so safe life, and stay smiling forever. The smartest smiling every time I found from you. So be smiling forever, and that's, let it not be the end of the session. It should be a continuous process. Thank you so much. I believe, as you said, and that is the true honor of mine, that you enjoyed the session, because I was in fix that whether whether you are going to enjoy or not, because this is your precious time. So
No,
I
no,
believe,
that's very good.
yeah. So
So what I'm
that's
going to do,
basically.
yeah, thank you very much for nice comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm also doing some webinars and some other things. So I mean, Tanzil, you should be my. I think I'll make you the go-to point to share the next sessions for what I'm doing to your community. So let's do that, right? Okay.
Okay. Thank you
Cheers,
so
guys.
much.
Have a good day.
Okay,
Eid Mubarak,
before you
and
leave,
everybody Eid Mubarak.
before you leave, just let me take a group session, group photo, please. Please,
Okay.
everyone, please open your camera to take a session and give a casual move. So let's make the memory. Yeah, people even from warehouse. Yeah, Francis is from workplace. Okay, so let's have a casual pose with Dr. Mudassir Ahmed. So here we go. Number one session. Okay, number one. Okay. So just quick one. This is number one taken. Okay, the screen is going for number two. Here you go. Okay, it's done. Thank you so much, Dr. Mudassir Ahmed, and for
Thank
being
you.
with us. And see you again back, inshallah. And let's do together something the better for the community as well. Let's
Take care,
continue.
mate. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very
Assalamu
much for
alaikum.
this presentation.
Salam alaikum.
And thank you everyone for being here today and cooperating and assisting to the entire session. And I'm really hats off to you guys for continuous support and cooperation. So see you back again. Stay tuned for the next session of Later Inside Out with Tanzil. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you very much.
Advance Eid Mubarak, Mr. Tanjil.
Oh, thank you so much. Eid Mubarak here.
Everyone advance thanks.